Okay, hi, welcome to today's Tactica video. We're going to cover the Imperial Guard's command squad in a configuration I call the forward observation post. Now again, with the way the Imperial Guard codex is set up, when I try to compare it to real world examples, the correlations don't line up perfectly, but in this particular case I think it's fairly straightforward and very similar. Mostly artillery liaisons are a pair of guys. You got the spotter and a guy with the radio. Both of them are part of the artillery unit, so they know their stuff, and they're attached to usually a squad somewhere. Now, that doesn't work real well. The only place in the Imperial Guard Codex you can have any type of artillery contact is within the command squad. So I still think it's a good match. From a fluff perspective, it really renders itself well. But I think it reflects itself better as far as using the artillery liaison if you treat this as a forward observation post. A specialist artillery liaison unit that is put somewhere in the forward lines, covering a particular area, whether it's going to be a potential area of advance for the enemy, or it's an area that's planned to be used for the advance of your troops. The unit will be able to interdict any enemy approaches by calling artillery fire down, or it'll be able to soften up the enemy positions as your units move into that area to move on to the enemy's whatever target you've selected. So building this is actually not that hard. The key feature for these, remember, is to from a fluff perspective, not just in 40K but in the real world, is you want to have a small unit that can remain stationary, hidden away. It doesn't draw a lot of fire if it's not seen, but it's monitoring enemy movements and can direct fire where the threats present themselves. And the command squad is ideal for this because it's a small investment. It can be purchased for as little as 80 points, which is what you see here. A basic command squad of 5 guys with company commander. For 60 points with a 20-point Master of Ordnance. 80 points, you've got it. Now, you can improve them by just spending 8 points for these 4 veterans to get the camo cloaks. That brings up their cover save by 1 and only costs you 88 points for the whole squad. If you feel like you need to, you can always upgrade one to include a Voxcaster. Now, it doesn't help your unit at all, but since you're going to be in the back lines somewhere, you may be nearby other units that your commander, since he has 2 orders, can take advantage of. There's a heavy weapons team nearby within 12 inches. You can give your own squad an order or give 2 other squads nearby an order. There's not a lot you'll necessarily want to give your guys an order for, except maybe the ignores cover. But having that Vox cache will make it easier for you to pass the orders off to the other nearby units to support them. Now that's only an extra 5 points, so that could bring the cost up to 93. That's not too bad. Now you can add a heavy weapon, but I would definitely try to avoid that, simply because that's tempting then to give yourself get yourself in a position where you can actually desire to shoot. This unit really needs to stay hidden as much as possible and stay inconspicuous, because as soon as they're targeted, they're going to be squishy. If you can land a blast down on that unit, the danger is pretty significant that you're going to take out the key units. Now let's compare putting a heavy weapons team in to leaving the unit the way it kind of is. Okay, now a heavy bolter is usually what if I do choose to add one, I'll add a heavy bolter because it's a 36-inch range, covers the board pretty well, as opposed to a mortar, which is a lower strength blast. I like this one better. But notice how much extra space that takes up. You can almost fit your entire command squad in the space of that one heavy bolter team. So what that means is that by taking these 2 guys out, you've increased the footprint and makes it much harder to hide your unit. If they can target that heavy bolter squad, they can put a large blast down. It's going to get quite a number of units. If it scatters at all, it could take out many of your units and potentially ruin the unit completely. So tend to keep it simple. Don't waste 10 points on a heavy bolter. 5 points for a mortar is even risky considering the vulnerability you introduce. And the other upgrade that's possible is to swap out a guy for a med pack. And that's 30 points or 15 points. Not really useful considering most of the fire they're going to draw is probably going to be strength 6 or better. Artillery type. You're not going to get a feel no pain against that. Best just leave it as is and hide them. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to keep them in the best cover available. So again, going back to our cityscape here, you need to find a spot that they'll work best in. Now, no matter where you're going to be, what table edges you're going to have, you can always find something that you can hide behind. And the key here is actually hiding behind. So let's just use this corner for example. I've got a building here. I can hide the entire unit. If I've got short table edges, I bring the entire unit behind this short edge, get them up there close, so very little can see them. Very little at all. Now, they don't need to see their target to bring that artillery barrage down, and that's key. It's going to scatter 3d6 inches most of the time anyway. So what difference does a 3 ballistic skill really make when you're going to try to reduce that scatter? So keeping them out of sight keeps them alive longer. You're not going to move them much, if at all actually, because as soon as you move, you can't use that barrage. This prevents the opponent from getting hits on you. If you're deploying a long table edge, you can bring them along the back here and fit them in, strung out very nicely. So there's absolutely no way they can draw any shots to them. And they'll be dropping pie plates down the entire time. Other areas on the board, take a look at the location. Up here, they'll be able to be seen. Behind here is a small area. This ruin is really nice because you have quite a few blind spots on that ruin. You could actually hide them behind this bastion. That's large enough. This building as well, potentially. There is a real nice wall behind here you can hide them in. Again, that's what you're looking for. Terrain that you actually hide them so they actually cannot be seen. There they are, behind that building. Can't be targeted. Now granted, a barrage can, but again, because you are so close to the edge of the table, it's likely to scatter off. Since it's a barrage, there's no line of sight, you can't subtract ballistic skill, so you're likely going to be scattering off and potentially even off the table. And if you do that, there's no chance of you guys getting hurt. So that's how you really want to use a forward observation post, if at all possible. Hide them. Don't let them get in a line of sight from anywhere on the table. With that, you're able to bring down unchallenged barrages throughout the game until potentially, well, on turn 2, if you got deep strikers coming in the back, then you maybe have a little bit of difficulty here. But other than that, it should be turn 3 or 4 before they're actually in threat from something that comes across into their lines. Again, barring bikers or similar type of fast units that come in, like Eldar jet bikes, which are always a bane. Alright, so I hope you found that useful. If you have any more questions about that particular unit, let me know in the comments below. Go ahead and share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.